In this video, we're going to take a look at Ashlyn Shade. I thought it would be good to do her next in the series I'm doing on UConn players, as she's quite similar to KK Arnold, I believe, in terms of the importance to UConn in the 25-26 season. As obviously with Paige Bueckers leaving, they're going to need a third scorer to step up, and the likely candidate is going to be Ashlyn Shade, as I expect her to be a starter in the 25-26 season. We're going to go through it all. Before we start, if you enjoy the content, then please consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel. All right, let's get into this. Ashlyn Shade was ranked number 15 in the 2023 class. In 2023-24, her freshman year, she and KK Arnold were forced into the starting lineup early because of the injuries to AZ Fudd and Aubrey Griffin, and they did well. Obviously, UConn made the Final Four. They got lots of minutes, and they were key components on that team. And as I mentioned with KK Arnold, the mission going into their sophomore year was do less with more. And KK and Shade did well at that. Is they essentially did their jobs, which was to come on the court and have an impact. Auriemma set a goal for her to get more steals and play more impactful defense. She did that. So in her freshman year, she played 1,194 minutes. And last season, she got less minutes at 892, but her steals went up by 20. So in her freshman year, she had 37 steals. Last season, she had 57 steals. Now, in my opinion, the big question about Shade going into last season was, what would happen when she faced top competition? Would she be able to step up? And I've got to be honest, I had my doubts, and it was not looking good after the Tennessee game. And I think if you gave most UConn fans truth serum, they would have been the same way going into South Carolina. It felt like they were about to go into the Lions' den, and then they delivered. And a big part of that was Ashlyn Shade, as when Fudd and Bueckers initially struggled, she was hitting shots. But not only that, she was getting garbage rebounds and just doing all the little things to help UConn stay in that game. Well, not only stay in that game, but get ahead. And in a lot of ways, that's where the championship was born, because that gave UConn players, yes, we can play with South Carolina. We can do this. And they just grew by leaps and bounds as the season concluded and obviously finished off in a championship. Now the mission is different for Shade this year. The question is, will she be able to step into that starting lineup and be a consistent scorer? When I take an early look at UConn, I suspect currently with who they have, I think it will be KK in the starting lineup along with Shade, Fudd, Strong, and Williams. Obviously, El Alfie and Williams were battled for the 5 spot, but that's what I see. Williams can score a bit. Strong and Fudd, obviously, and then I think they want to make sure that they have Shade in there to help space the court. If you take a look at her shot chart from her freshman and sophomore year, obviously Ashlyn Shade can shoot. In her freshman year, she shot 34% from 3. Her mid-range was good as well at 51%, and then 69% in the key and 77% at the rim. This year, or the last season, it only improved in her sophomore year as she shot 41% from 3 as you take a look at her shooting chart. In addition, she was 50% in the key, 75% at the rim, and slightly down in the mid-range at 45%. The thing that makes Shade tough is that she can hit all areas of the court. If we take a look at her complex shooting chart, if you look at this, take a look at, she shoots on all areas of the court. So she can shoot all places. It's interesting, both her freshman year and sophomore year, for some reason, she struggles a little bit around that three-point arc on the right side. So last season, she shot 25%, and then in the previous year as well, in her freshman year, she shot 23% from there. So she needs to work on her right side shooting a tiny bit, and I don't know if that just might be happenstance or whatever. I don't know if it's an issue with, like, she likes going left and shooting right better, or what it is, but that's just an interesting thing that stuck out. But even more interesting, if you take a look at the frequency of her shots, she shoots everywhere, and that makes her hard to guard and a perfect fit for the UConn offense. Prior to her freshman year, I did a video on Shade, and AZ Fudd, I got quotes from AZ Fudd for that video saying she knew that Shade was going to be perfect for UConn, as she played with her at the Stephen Curry camp and she was back cutting, and she's like, yeah, she's a UConn player. She will be perfect in our system. And that was a good call by Fudd. The other thing that stuck out when I did the initial video for her was just how well prepared she was to come to UConn. Her dad's a physical trainer, so she'd always trained and been physically fit, always doing push-ups and squats and everything else. So she is one of the fittest players on the court when she plays. In addition, she played in high school, won a championship, and had that sort of team success. But then she went on, instead of returning for her senior year, she went off to a prep school that helped further prepare and be ready to live on her own and go to UConn. So you could tell that she was really set up to have success. The only thing that's interesting is that she cares so much it can almost be a detriment. And Auriemma talked about this after the Iowa State game, where she went off for 27 points. Like, she hit all of her three-pointers and had a night to remember. But he's like, Shade is so worried about pleasing me and doing the right thing for me that she just needs to worry about herself and not be focused on pleasing me, just making sure that she's happy with her own performance. And overall, it seems like Auriemma spends a lot of time reminding her, hey, you were one of the leading scorers coming out of high school. You were one of the best recruits. That's why we brought you here. You don't come to UConn unless you can play and score. Just you be you and you'll be fine. And that's what they're trying to do, is build her up.
Ash was a really, really, really confident high school player who thought she could make any shot, anytime. And the thing that little by little I'm hoping is that she remembers that and focuses on that and doesn't check with me every time to see if what I just did was okay. And I think that's another aspect of, you know, these are kids that come to school and they, without any work on my own, they feel like they need my approval. Not all of them do. Some, I'm looking for their approval, some of these guys. But Ash is one of those that wants to please and wants your approval. And I think once she starts to understand she just needs her approval, then, you know, she can have, it's hard to have a night like this every night, but she can have nights where things like this happen.
But at the same time, Auriemma is able to coach Ashlyn Shade hard, which he is appreciative of, saying, I know that I'm guilty of taking Ashlyn Shade for granted, he said. Probably the thing I appreciate the most about her is that she's my target for everything that goes wrong on the team. And I appreciate she doesn't hold it against me personally. And it's pretty clear Shade does not hold it personally. In her freshman year, she gave this quote, when he yells at me, I'm just starting to translate it into I love you instead of you suck. So when he goes, you suck, I'm just like, love you too. Now, I'll just finish off looking at Ashlyn Shade's on-off numbers. Well, first, her plus-minus last year was 738 plus. And that's just behind Fudd, who was 769. And in less minutes, her plus-minus was better than Caitlin Chin. So Caitlin Chin played 938 minutes in comparison to Shade's 892. And her plus-minus was 712 versus Shade, who had a higher plus-minus at 738. So Shade's net rating was really good as well. She was 48.5 on the court versus UConn was 36.9 when she was off the court. So essentially UConn was 11.6 points better with her on the court. Offensive rating as well. She was 125, or UConn was 125 with her on the court versus scoring 113 per 100 possession with her off the court. Defense was fairly equal, so they didn't give up anything with Shade on the court. So defensive rating was 76.8 with her on and 76.5 with her off, so negligible. The other numbers are good as well. So offensive rebounding percentage was 32% with her on versus 30% off. Turnover percentage was lower with her on the court versus off at 12% on, 15.4% with her off the court. And then free throw attempts with her on, they got to the line. UConn did 19.7% of the time versus 18.1 when she was off the court. So all of her numbers are really good. So the hope for Shade in her junior year is that now she has the confidence when she comes back, as she's had 2 years of seasoning. She's a good player, and you just want her to grab it and say, yep, I'm the consistent third scorer. Here we go. And if that happens, that really sets up UConn quite well, as they'll obviously have Fudd, Strong, and Williams. And then Shade just gives you that little bit of extra firepower that can stretch the court and score in multiple places, is shown by her shot chart. Now I'll finish with this. I'll give you a UConn comp. So my comp for Ashlyn Shade is Shay Ralph. Now feel free to argue with me if you like, but to be honest, I stole that from CD, who seems to be a bit of an authority, I would suggest. And her reasoning is that Shade, much like Ralph, is able to get to her spots and knows her spots well, and is just a good, tough player and a real type of kid that'll run through a wall for you. So I'll go with CD, and I'll say the comp for Ashlyn Shade is Shay Ralph. Your comments and feedback is all welcome. Do you see Shade being able to be that third consistent scorer for UConn? And do you see her being the starter that they need to step up in the absence of Paige Beckers? All right, I'll leave it over to you. Thanks a lot for watching, and we will continue this series if people want me to. Let me know in the comments if you want me to continue with this or not. Thanks a lot. Good night.